DraftKings Week 3. We've been on an absolute tear, and we are ready to take down some bigger tournaments this week. This is Allaqcess Sports, and it's your Week 3 DraftKings NFL Sleepers and Value Picks.
This is Allaqcess, your home for fantasy sports talk.
Welcome back in. If you've been here before, you know that this is what we do every single week. We find value and sleeper plays. These are going to be players under $5,500 that I think you can put into your lineup and get pretty good return. Our goal is to always get 4 times points per $1,000. AKA a $5,000 player should be able to put up 20 points. If DraftKings gives you $50,000 to work with, our goal is to get 200 points. We're not always going to hit that, but when is that not cashing? If we're hitting 150 to 175, that's probably cashing in most of your double ups and 50-50s, which you know I love to play. It's all about the consistency, baby. And speaking of consistency, looking at what we did last week, we put up some more good numbers. Michael Carter, Jeff Wilson, Greg Dortch, Logan Thomas, Jahan Dotson, Tyler Higbee, and Allen Robinson. All of these guys hit at least 2, 3, or 4x their value. But I cannot wait to show you what our studs did. We had one page in particular on the studs that I said all 3 of these guys were probably must starts in my lineup, and I was going to live on this page. And they finished 3 of the top 6 at the skill position. Where did we miss? DJ Chark and Rex Burkhead, there's no messing around about that. We're always transparent. If we're going to share our wins with you, it's only fair that we share our losses. So we finished in the green once again, thanks to most of these value plays. Now let's get into about 9 to 10 players that we have for week 3. Starting things off, I'm going on a little bit of a different ledge here with Miles Sanders at $5,500 against the Washington Commanders. Yes, he does have a little bit of a limited ceiling, so I don't love this play for those bigger tournaments, but he's getting consistent touches. When the Eagles were up by a lot, they were just running the ball with Miles Sanders, Boston Scott, Kenneth Gainwell even got a couple of touches, and I really would like to see him in a couple of those lineups because I think he has a very good floor, but it does limit his ceiling. Nyheim Hines at $5,000 against Kansas City. I think he has a bigger ceiling than Miles Sanders. At $5,000, you're getting a running back that is going to be playing from behind, has a very short or shallow wide receiving core, and he's going to be seeing the field more because they're going to be in pass-catching situations playing chase to the Kansas City Chiefs. He's seen targets in every game thus far. No reason for that to fall off. 15 to 20 points. If he's able to put up a touchdown, 15 to 20 points is not out of the question, and I like his chances to get there this week. A running back on the other side of the ball, Jerick McKinnon. You're going to hear his name by a lot of people, but be careful. Yes, he was the snap leader at the running back position for the Chiefs in week 2. Now you go up against Indianapolis, and maybe you have some of the same. I don't know if you're going to be playing from behind, so I don't know if the catches will be there, but he'll probably get a good amount of handoffs behind the line of scrimmage. $4,500, you're looking for a 12 to 16 point game, and you're doing pretty well for yourself. Now, this is the page I absolutely love. We've gotten rid of the running backs. I don't know if there's a ton of value at the running back position this week, but the wide receivers, oh, yes, sir. Garrett Wilson at $5,400. If you don't already have him in fantasy football, I advise you to pick him up now. Is it time to jump ship from Darnell Mooney? Are you concerned with maybe the Packers wide receivers? Garrett Wilson is getting good, consistent looks. It's the most passed offense in the league right now. Granted, it is Joe Flacco, and they're a terrible team playing from behind, but he's getting a ton of looks. 22 targets thus far in the season to be exact. That's good enough for 9th best in the league. Now you go up against Cincinnati, who's trying to right the ship. They haven't looked great so far in the season, but I do think Cincinnati can put up points, which means the Jets are going to have to continue to throw. Looking the way of Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore, even Corey Davis this week is not a mistake. But at $5,400, if you get a guy that's averaging 10 targets a game and he makes 7 catches, that's 7 points there already. 20 points is not out of the realm of possibility from a guy that only cost you $5,400. Let's try and get him into the end zone here, guys. Curtis Samuel, $5,100. As you can see, I'm a Carolina Panthers fan. Curtis Samuel is loaded up with talent. Sure, he's not going to be running your deep routes down the field, but he is a playmaker with the ball in his hands. Get it to him early, get it to him quick. What better team to do that against than the Philadelphia Eagles, who just put on display how good and how fast that defense can be? I look for Curtis Samuel to get involved early and often, both off of screens, quick passes behind the line of scrimmage. Sure, it's a 0-yard catch, but we still get 1 point for the PPR, and I love that. Not to mention, I'm assuming Carson Wentz is going to be fading away from Darius Slay after what he did last week to the Minnesota Vikings. And finally, Russell Gage at $4,700 is going to be one of the biggest value plays on the entire slate. I know I'm not the only one talking about him, so I'm not going to give you too much details, but obviously, no Mike Evans because of the suspension. Chris Godwin is still meh. Julio Jones, he's questionable, likely to play, but still, that is a thinned out wide receiver core, one that just picked up Cole Beasley, who probably won't be ready. Russell Gage this week against the Green Bay Packers at only $4,700. I'd like to see him in my lineup. Again, I like to play those 50-50s and double-ups. I like to have a pretty high floor with my players. This is one that I think has a high floor at the wide receiver position. There's a lot of value at the wide receiver position. I said it at the beginning of the video. Marquez Valdes-Scantling at $4,700 against the Indianapolis Colts. He had 7 targets in week 2, which tied for the team lead with Travis Kelce, but unfortunately he only had 2 catches. I like Valdes-Scantling to get a little bit more involved in the offense this week, and also keep your eye on Juju Smith-Schuster, who's at $5,500. Both of those guys could be in a ballpark for a big game. I think it's Valdes-Scantling, and I get to save a little bit of money. Now, this guy has been involved in basically every video that we've put out this year, and I don't understand why more people aren't talking about it. Tyler Higbee at $4,500 against the Arizona Cardinals. He has 20 targets this season, 0 touchdowns, but he is getting targeted in the red zone. Unfortunately, it just hasn't fallen our way yet. I'm always looking to save and get some value out of my tight end position. I think there's only 3 tight ends above $5,500. Tyler Higbee is one of my top 3 tight ends. I'll get to the other 2 in a second. And lastly, Greg Dortch at $4,300 against the Los Angeles Rams. This one does, need a little help, okay? Same thing as Russell Gage. We're looking at the injury concerns and how he's looking on the depth chart. 14 targets through 2 weeks. Yes, those soft underneath routes, very similar to what Curtis Samuel can probably do for Washington, is what Greg Dortch does for this team. He's a check down wide receiver. He's the one that helps Kyler Murray escape pressure, and he's been facing a lot of it this year. Greg Dortch, high volume, low yardage, a chance to get a couple touchdowns, I hope, but this Los Angeles Rams team is going to put up points, and Arizona will be chasing. I told you after Tyler Higbee, there was 2 tight ends that I still really liked this week, and there's a lot of value here. Isaiah Likely at $2,800 against the New England Patriots. 9 targets in 2 weeks, 5 in one, 4 in another week. He's been targeted on 25% of his snaps. I look for that to continue to increase as Lamar Jackson gets a little bit more comfortable for him. Let's be honest, if he gets 4 catches at 20 yards, that's 6 points right there. He's already 2x his value, and that is extremely likely for him and this offense. If Baltimore gets ahead early, they probably take Mark Andrews out as one of the centerpieces of that offense. In steps Isaiah Likely, so his snaps haven't been there, but the target share when he's on the field is there. He just gets open. Hayden Hurst at $3,900 against the New York Jets. They're allowing one of the highest in the league, 10 targets a game to the tight end. They just can't seem to cover him. Hayden Hurst has been involved early and often in the season, and I look for that to continue from Joe Burrow. The Bengals have kind of struggled a little bit, but they can still put up points. I have a lot of faith in them if that offensive line can just hold up a little bit. Now, don't forget on the next slide, your chance to win a Millionaire Maker ticket. Just pay attention to the last screen and drop your answer in the comments below. You can also check below for more info. Trevor Lawrence at $5,400 against the Los Angeles Chargers. I expect them to be playing from behind. I like Trevor Lawrence to be throwing the ball a lot, and I think he's able to make a big connection with Christian Kirk. At $5,400, if you get 20 points out of Trevor Lawrence, you're in a really good spot for a guy that only cost you $5,400. Save that money up, go get those top-tier running backs and wide receivers. All right, we made it through the video, but here's your chance to win. Who will score the most points on the Week 3 main slate, and how many? So just the main slate. Who's going to score the most points, and how many? Now, if Josh Allen goes out and scores 31.8 points, and your vote is Josh Allen, 31 points, one person who correctly identifies that player in points would be deemed the winner. We haven't had a winner yet, but we're always running your chance to win. We never know who's going to pop. Unless you're watching our studs video, then you have a pretty good idea. Again, we nailed Tyreek Hill, Amon-Ra, and Christian Kirk as 3 guys that we absolutely loved and could potentially be our starting wide receivers week 2. And, well, you see how that went. Be on the lookout for that studs and stacks coming out soon, and keep it right here. Subscribe to the channel, ring that bell so you always get a notification when we post. Good luck week 3. Go out, get the cash, and beat those big dogs.